Thank you for joining us and welcome to another edition of Health in the Heartland, a program dedicated to the health issues that affect you. I'm Karen Blakelock. In this episode, we're going to focus on a story of determination. It's about a person who was determined to change his life, and he's made lifestyle changes, partnered with his healthcare professionals with some medical interventions, and improved his quality of life. Woody Will is joining us. Thanks for being here, Woody.
Good morning. Yes, I've experienced quite a bit of change, and that's okay. It's just been an uphill battle, but it's been worth the trip. Back in about 2004, my knees got to the point, I was still working, and my knees got to the point that I could no longer walk very far at all. I have a very short walk, so, and I was over 300 pounds, I want to say probably 360 pounds. And the doctors told me, unless you get down to probably somewhere below 300, the prognosis on replacing your knees would not be very good, because the rehab would go very, very slowly. It would take a long time. And of course, I was working at the time, and it was very, I had to be at work pretty much all the time. So it was just me and my administrative assistant was all there was. So
they need you.
I had to be there, yeah. And of course, everybody, I'm sure, thinks their work is extremely important, and I did. I was the fire training coordinator here for 27 years, and so I just didn't feel like I could take the time off. Well, I retired in 2005, and I had thought before about having the lap band done, and I wasn't sure that was the route I should go. I had already had previously a colon resection. I only have a 6-inch colon, so I didn't know if I wanted all that surgery again, because it took me a while to get over that. So I thought, well, I'll just give it some thought. So I give it some thought, and I was in the process of getting that done, and the doctor that was here left, and so I had to start that process over again. I thought, well, I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, because that's a lot.
It's a lot to undertake.
It is. It is a long process. It's not just like you go in and the next day they do the lap band. That's not the way that works.
Let's talk about that for just a
Sure.
second, because you got to that point where you knew something needed to be done. What was your aha moment? And that's kind of, we've heard that term before.
Yeah, okay.
That you knew, if I don't make a change, things are not going to get better for me.
I would go to my doctor every 3 months for monitoring my medications. My blood sugar was at 360 on a regular basis. My heart was having a difficulty dealing with it. At the time when I actually made that decision, I was 410 pounds. The doctor told me that my kidneys and liver were starting to feel the effects of that much weight. I had been in a wheelchair at that point for about 4 years, and maybe it was 5. And my muscles, the apathy on my muscles had got to the point that I could barely pick myself up. So I could see nothing ahead except the effects of diabetes and all of those negative aspects that you don't have any quality of life. You're more a vegetable than anything else.
Right, and that's exactly what you were, I think, alluding to just a minute ago.
Yes.
You don't just jump in and have,
No.
think about having surgery or talking to your healthcare professional. There are specific multiple factors,
Yes.
and you just pretty much named those off, because you had a lot of risks,
Right.
Going into the surgery, and health concerns that if you didn't take care of them, your life was kind of spiraling.
If I had not have done what happened, I probably would not be alive now, because it was getting that serious. My eyesight was failing. My body was reacting to poor lifestyle choices. And I know that, it's one of those things where you don't blame this person or that person. It was me. I was doing that to myself. And one day I just thought, of course, I'm a Christian person, and I believe that everybody has a purpose in life. And I thought, I'm not going to end this way. This is not going to be the end of my story. Mm-hmm. So I had the lap band done, and that was done in, I want to say, it was November, but I'm thinking it was 2009.
At that point, and I don't mean to stop you,
Sure, but go ahead,
but
anytime.
you were a candidate that was appropriate for the lap
Yes,
band
yes.
surgery
Yeah.
because of all these things that were going on.
Right.
And I really appreciated your honesty there in talking about the responsibility that you had.
It was me.
And that is something that is hard for our society right now to understand, that what we do on a daily basis, whether it's the lack of exercise or the fact that we are exercising, we hope we're doing that, making choices, and it's all about choices, the food that we take really affect how our body reacts and what's going on as far as our health risk factors down the road. And you really hit that right there. And you said, I've got to do something about this, talk to your healthcare professional. And they thought that you were a candidate for this to hopefully make things better for you.
My doctor recommended the lap band, and because of my other surgeries, he said that the lap band would probably be the best thing for me to do rather than gastric bypass. He said gastric bypass will cause you to lose the weight the fastest, but because of the additional surgery that I'd had on my abdomen area, that he said I would probably be a better candidate for the lap band. So, and that took some decision. It took some time for me to think about that some. And so like I said, in November 2009, I had the lap band done, and the doctor at that point told me that it would probably take about 3 years for me to get down to my weight. And I thought, well, maybe if I don't do anything it would, but if I'm going to try to exercise, I'm going to try to get that down. So in January, I started going to the pool. At Hard Memorial out on Ring Road, there is the Sports Medicine Center. And in the Sports Medicine Center, where they do a lot of rehab and those kinds of things, is an aquatic pool. The aquatic pool has an underwater treadmill. Now, I know a lot of people have run on the beach, and you know how it is when you get into the water. It's really hard to run. So when I started out there, I was rolled out on the treadmill, and it lowers you down into the water. I was rolled out on a PVC wheelchair. I could not walk out on it.
Because you weren't in the wheelchair at that time, right?
Yes, I was 410 pounds. I could barely get up and move. So they rolled me out, and I could stand up long enough for them to lower me in the water. And I started out at I think it was about a half a mile an hour. And that was, at that time, the sessions were 1 hour in length. So I walked for 1 hour underwater. Now, the difference is, and people would say, how did you do that on your knees? But because at that point in time, my knees were bone against bone.
And you hadn't had surgery on
I hadn't
your
had
knees.
any surgery on my knees, and my knees were arthritic and extremely painful. Just to stand up was painful.
Right.
So, but the water takes the weight off of your joints, so you don't have the weight. So all you have is the resistance of the water. Well, they have jets that push water against you, so you have that friction and that pressure from the water. And so within 6 months, I was down. I went from around 410 pounds down to 291. At 291, and then the doctor told me to be below 300 pounds whenever I got my knees done. So I went to see the doctor, and
put a star on your calendar that day.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was in July. It was July the 11th is when they actually did the surgery. So they first did my left knee. I had originally injured my knee playing football in high school, and back then there was no arthroscopic surgery or anything. What the doctor explained that he was going to do to my knee, I decided I'd just quit football. It'd be a lot easier. So
a lot of advancements.
Yeah. There was very little advanced medicine back then, because that was in 1965, and then in July I had total knee replacement on my left knee, and in October I had total knee replacement on my right knee, and so I actually was walking, limited walking. And of course, just as soon as the scars healed and everything, I went back to the pool and was working in the pool. And this is 2009, this is 2012. I've been going 3 times a week ever since. I go 3 times a week in the mornings, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I started out, like I said, at about a half a mile an hour, I think is what it was. But I have gone as high as 6 miles an hour.
Wow.
And I don't, obviously on on the replaced knees, you really don't want to run much, but I do walk there 3 times a week, and I would like my weight to be less than it is now, but it's one of the very slow processes.
Right.
So.
And you are not in a wheelchair anymore?
No, I'm out of the wheelchair. I can't walk long distances, so if I'm going to like Walmart and try to shop, I'll use either one of their carts or I'll take my wheelchair with me. But for the daily operation, normal walking, no, I don't use it anymore. I'm out of it.
Wow.
And it makes a big difference. It really does, because a lot of people think that the world we live in is accessible. Well, it really isn't. You have to be in a wheelchair for a while to realize that the world is not as accessible as people would like to tell you that it is.
Let's talk a little bit about all this change, because I saw a smile come across your face.
Yeah.
And I think our viewers really need to understand that you decided that you needed to take that responsibility.
Yes.
So you've had to learn new ways, a new lifestyle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then also it has given you probably back that self-confidence in being able to take care of yourself that you were not able to before. And that's a lot that you've had to do in partnering with, again, the medical profession and making these decisions to have that quality of life that you can have.
Yes.
So what are some of those changes?
Well, let me say this first. I don't know how many people are like me. I have to make a difference. I get up every morning. How can I make a difference? How can I make things better for everybody? And I got to the point that I was worthless. I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help anybody. So that's not my lifestyle. I can't do that. So by partnering with the medical community, I now have, and I had to change, my eating habits had to change. I have to be very careful now when I eat, the size of portion, how much I chew, not using quantities, but the quality of food, making sure that I check the sugar content in everything, because sugar reacts kind of negatively with the band. Basically, I need to just say it. You throw up a lot if you eat the wrong things, and you make poor choices. So you have to make good choices. It's not always pleasant. It's not always easy, but it's always necessary, because I don't want to go back to where I was. And I know that that's up to me. That's not there. You can't blame anybody else for that.